we'll start with the quiz that you guys just did, okay, to go over the ones that you obviously got wrong. So I think we start, if I get it right here. It's stuck like that. Okay. So let's go over this first. Is there an easy way to do the... There still isn't. So most incorrectly answered. Oh my gosh, this one was terrible. Let's see if what we got on here. Since they okay, so we got use this chart to calculate acceptable power supply wattage for this PC. This is not a minimum, not the recommended. This is the minimum, not the recommended. So we're going to calculate the minimum. So we're going to get the calculated and do what with it? Round it up to the next 50. Okay. Hint: it does not show how many cores. You may have to Google the processor. Don't analyze the study unless you because you think of that. I know it is a wattage. Don't put any numbers, or only put the numbers. So you should have put just like whatever the number is. Okay. Did anybody put watts or anything after the end?
Well, I did, but then it tells you to go back and fix it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Because it like shows up blank, like that you didn't answer it.
So let's go through the chart and see what we come up with. And so the first thing is, in fact, I'll just write it over here and see what we come up with, and see if there's something wrong with the answer, since only one person got it right. So we got a motherboard. We got 50. So that's the first thing, and then we've got how many cores on this one?
Quad core.
Okay, what?
A quad core.
Okay. Does it say that on there, or did you guys look it up?
I looked at
Looked
the
at
board.
that.
Operating system, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't say, so you should have just put in Intel Core 7-2600, and we pop that in there, and it is, let's see, Intel 4 cores. Okay, so we go quad core. So with quad core, we're going to just put the pen. Quad core, we're saying that's another 100. Okay, the next thing is what kind of video card did you guys say it was? It's a desktop. Is the video integrated? Let's see, processor, hard drive, optical, audio, graphics.
Oh, if I missed it, I already figured it out.
It's ATI 6450. I don't have any back pictures. Did you guys go and say that was a gamer card, or what did you guys use for that?
I said basic.
It's a 1 gig card. I'm going to say it's basic too. It doesn't specifically say it's a gamer card anyway. Did everybody else say basic, or did you guys say gamer? What did you guys say?
I said gaming because it's gaming under the lifestyle.
Gaming right there in lifestyle. You're right. You should use gaming because that actually was a gamer card at one time. Let's see what it says. Let's see if I Google the card itself. So that would be a good call that used gaming because it said it was a gaming computer. Let's see. I would not say this is it. I need to get a better card. So that may be why you guys. You're the only one who said gaming. You guys all said basic.
I just gaming.
You guys also okay? So, but it does say it's a gaming PC. So we're gonna go with gaming. We'll double check and see if that's where only one person got it right. Because there has to be something that breaks this apart, right? So, you know what?
Oh, I already
I know. So I've got integrated, I've got basic, and I got gamer on there. Wow, that was a bad PC. I'm gonna have to double check my PCs. Honestly, that probably would fall under basic, not gamer. So let's see. It's 120, and that's a difference of 70 if you said basic. So maybe that's the difference that makes it. That's really it. I mean, when I go and look at this one, I'm going to call that a basic card. That is not, by any stretch of the imagination, anymore a gamer card. So I'll try to make sure that's a more clear-cut card on the one that you get on the test. That's why we're doing this. Okay, so how many sticks of memory did we have in this one?
2.
Memory modules, memory size. Where did you get 2 from?
I mean, usually when you come up with a brand new PC, it's probably going to have 2 sticks of RAM.
So you're guessing. You're just guessing. You didn't actually
I did the
find it on
same
there?
thing.
What?
I did the same thing.
You just guessed
Two sticks
that it
of
would be
4
two
sticks.
sticks of 4? That's probably a very good guess, and I would say that's probably true. I'm just trying to see if it's actually in here anywhere. I will try to have a better one on the test. I'm gonna agree with you though, because they normally don't put one stick because it's more expensive to put one bigger stick than it is to put in two smaller. Plus, two smaller actually runs better. So we'll say 30 for the memory. Optical drive, yes, it has one. Hard drives, one.
Yep.
25. Floppy drive.
No.
Expansion cards, and not a good picture of anything. Does it list any expansion cards in here? Let's see. The keyboard standard, mouse is USB, so that's one USB thing. Integrated network, integrated audio. I don't see anything else. How about fans? There's nothing that lets us easily see. There's nothing on the side, nothing on the other side. If we click on it, do we get any more pictures or just the same pictures?
Same pictures.
Same pictures, okay. So I'm not going to add a fan, but I am going to add one USB. So that's a 3. Let's see what that comes up with. Anybody have any other numbers other than the gaming card versus non-gaming card?
I actually put 75 instead of 100. That's where I went wrong.
75 versus...
Or 4.
Oh, you
I
did
knew
a
it
dual
was a
core
quad.
instead of... Okay.
Yeah, I knew it was a quad, but I just read it wrong. Put 75.
Okay. So we got 50 plus 100 plus, I'm going to say 120, but I actually think it's 70. Or I mean 70, or the 50. 30 plus 30 plus 25 plus 3, at least it should be. So 358 would round out to 400. How many people put 400?
Just Ian.
You're the only one. What did you guys have?
I put 350.
I had 350.
You did 350 because you used the other card.
Mine was because I used the other core.
I had 300.
I think I probably missed it.
In no case would 300 have been the right one.
Yeah. That's wrong.
But this is confusing right here. So I will make sure that on the test, any extra video cards that are in there, if you Google the card, it's clearly a gamer card.
Well, if you took 70 off of 358, that's
300.
No, not really, right?
Because that'd be like
It would.
be in the 200 range.
282.
You're right, though, aren't you? So if I took this all the way down, you're right. Don't argue with me. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So that's the difference of 2 steps, really. So if you did a basic, the minimum was 300, and if you did a gamer card, it's 400. So I need to make sure I get a clearer one on that. I would say, well, let's see what I said what the answer was. I said 400. So I was saying gamer because it said gamer. Okay. So I will make sure that number one, and you know, when I did this problem 2 years ago, that probably was a gamer card. I just need to pick a better link and change the thing. So anybody that said it said gaming, so I went with the fact that it was a gamer card was actually correct for this one, which is why that one. Okay, so who's the only one who did that? Good job, Ian. I thought you said gamer too.
I think I missed the number I was adding.
Oh, okay.
He didn't have the second stick of memory.
Which again would do it too. Okay. I would always assume on these that it's at least even number. Okay.
I saw it.
Hmm?
I
Okay.
saw it with the cord. Even though I didn't
I
say
had
it.
everything the same except I put a basic graphics card.
Oh.
Okay, where am I at? Why am I there? Here. Okay, so that was the most incorrectly answered one. Then there was one up here that said 50%. Let's look at this one then next. Okay, match the voltage with the plugs. C is the motherboard, right? It's the biggest one. What's the voltage on it? 3.3, okay? So plug C is 3.3. Plug A is our Molex plug. What's that one? 12. And then this is our floppy drive connector, which is 5.
Pardon me, teacher's interruption.
Okay.
Any juniors who need picture retakes or did not have their picture taken for the yearbook, even if you're not buying
Go get a picture.
pictures,
Okay,
please
any
go down to
questions
the
on that?
cafeteria at this time.
3.3, 12 is most of them. The only one that's 5 is the little tiny floppy drive one. Okay, it's gonna probably be a different picture on the test. Might be the same picture, but you guys need to. What? All of them except for the well, I will bring that picture up later. But the Molex is 4-pin. The floppy drive is 4-pin. But you could easily do a picture with the SATA connector. That's not 4 pins. That's this black one, but that's also 12 volts. So if it's the picture with this one, basically, remember I said all of them are 12 volts except for the floppy drive connection. Okay, that's the only one that's 5. Everything is okay except for this one. Right. So this one's 3.3 always. This one's 5 always, and everything else is 12.
I just put 12 for everything except for.
Well, you can't use more than one thing on a matching.
I put 3.3 and then 12 and 12 because I just thought it was the same.
On a matching problem, you can't use the same thing twice.
But
Just well, it'll let you, but then you get it wrong. Okay, so that's the right answer then. Let's see the next one that's most incorrectly answered would be this one at 60%. Oh, okay. So, when replacing or upgrading PC power, you should consider a variety of items. Match the items to demonstrate this. Correct extra 12-volt P4 power plug to power the extra components of your what? Okay. Wow, this is I haven't even looked at this. Should be, okay. Let's do the calculated. So this should be calculated and round up to the next 50 to get the minimum. Okay. So minimum power supply. This should be calculated, round up to the next 50, then add 50 to get recommended. Wow, I didn't hear it. Okay. Make sure you have the right P1 plug. This has the correct one of these options. Okay, so the P1 plug is the 20 or 24 pin. Okay. The correct number of 12-volt connectors for your intended. Okay, there's 2 things left. Okay. Okay. The correct number of 12-volt connectors for your intended what? Drives. Okay. This one is the P4 power plug, which only goes to the motherboard. Okay. So this one, which this one doesn't. Yeah, right here. Okay. So actually, this one says P2. The extra 12-volt P4 power plug to power the extra. That's a bad question. I'm going to change that right now. Because really that should say the extra, I don't like the way I wrote that. Can I edit from here? I can't edit from here. How do I edit? I don't like that question. Where is that one? Okay, really that's supposed to say for your CPU. As for your, as one of these, for your intended drives. Correct extra 12-volt plug to provide the needed power for your. Wait, I'm going to change that too. Because really, that extra power plug, yeah, it plugs into your motherboard, but it's for your CPU. Does that make more sense? Does that make it a little better on that? By the way, I'm going to change the grade on that one, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, the only point of doing this is to see problems, anything that needs to be clear. So that, I think that was confusing. I didn't like that one. Okay, because there's this extra plug. Yes, it plugs into your motherboard, but it's really for your CPU power, for the needed power for your CPU. Is that okay? The correct extra 12-volt plug to provide the needed power for your holy cannolis. I gotta see what that. I mean, you get 20 texts in a row. I gotta wonder if there's an emergency at home or something. That was 6 texts in a row. What in the world?
I like to take a break from class.
Okay. It was just one humongous text that wouldn't fit on one text, and it went ding, ding, ding. So anyway, okay, so does this make more sense? You need to make sure you have the correct extra 12 volt. And the reason I say that, if you remember, I showed you one of them. Oh my gosh, am I going to get any class today?
At this time, I need all juniors with picture retakes, or any junior that did not have their picture taken.
I thought they were
All
gonna
juniors
Okay.
at this time.
So
over
this
10
one
years.
has the 12 volt for an Intel, okay? But I also zip tied up here, so I couldn't use it if I wanted to, is the addition one for an AMD, because it has an 8-pin connector, okay? So that's really saying that make sure your power supply has the correct extra 12 volt plug to provide the needed power for your CPU, and that's what that's for. Now does it make sense? Okay, when you're checking when you're buying a power supply, you need to make sure that it's got the right connections for those things. Okay, don't like that question, but it's fixed now. Let's see. Next most incorrectly answered, what, did we already do this one?
No.
No.
Really? Somebody got that one wrong? I just wrote that one. Form factors complete the sentence. Form factors, what? Describe the basic size, shape, and general makeup of a hardware component.
No.
True, that's the one right off the power supply, or off the PowerPoint that I gave you. Form factors determine if parts are compatible. True or false? Yes, that's the whole point. We have to make sure the form factors match or they're not compatible. Form factors include ATX, BTX, LPX, AT, and others. This course focuses on the most common, ATX. True or false?
True.
True. I said every single thing that we do is going to be ATX in this course, so we're all using the same form factors. So form factors are correctly described by all of these choices. They are all correct.
Yeah.
Only one's the most correct answer. So if you said that one you got 33%, that one you got 33%, that one you got 33%, or that one you got 100%.
I never read D.
Okay, you need to read D.
Or A.
You need to read them all. You don't go to the first answer, because if one of them's all the above, then...
All I read was like A and C.
And they go,
I
boom,
skipped B
that
and D.
one's right. Okay, so make sure you read the whole thing. Read all the choices. Mr.
So
Pool
far,
Tricky.
not
Okay, everybody got all those? Water pipe analogy. Somebody got something wrong on this. The size of the pipe compares to this in electricity.
You put those in order.
No, they're not in order.
They're in order. Oh, okay. On mine, they were in order on the way that you had them.
Oh, no, it's random, so
Okay, I
yours
was
might
like-
have been in order.
I was like, what?
Okay, the size of the pipe is the voltage, the potential, right? The total amount of water that comes out of the pipe is the wattage, or total power. The speed that the water's through the pipe is the amperage or current, okay? And amperage or current times potential or voltage equals the total wattage for any given device. Okay, let's see. Any other ones? We already did that one. We already did this one. And we did that one. Let's see, we didn't do this one. Hungry. Okay, the first indication of a pending power supply failure may be, okay, so this is for me. This is a, don't look it up, this is a for me one. What did I say? The first indication of an impending power supply failure is what? What? Lack of airflow coming out. Now that your PC turning off, or obviously flames, that's not the first indication, that's the last indication. When you've got a fire or you've got your PC just turning off, something else has been going wrong for a while that you didn't know. Okay? So the first indication may be the lack of airflow or the failure of your fan, which causes it to overheat, which then causes your PC to turn off. Now the first thing you may notice is your PC turning off.
Pardon me,
Okay.
teachers for the
But
interruption.
this is actually the
Last
first
call
indication.
for all underclassmen.
Oh my
All
gosh.
underclassmen should at this
I got
time
that.
Why didn't
have
we
their
do
pictures
a
taken
2-hour delay today?
Or any retake.
Or 1 hour delay, so
Also
we
at
still
this
would have had
time,
class.
Seniors through
This
M,
pool's
last
getting
name through
excited.
M, should all come over and have their
I'm gonna be
pictures
like the
taken.
last
Thank you.
people.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do now, because we only have how many minutes left, and they're still interrupting class.
Well,
Okay, so there's no way for me to get through the course review that I wanted to get through, that I worked so diligently on. So I'm going to record this, the course review, and On Tuesday, you're going to watch the course review with the sub. You're just going to come in, and it'll be on the front of the course. I'll put it when you come into Moodle. I will put the course review like right at the top of chapter 3. So when you come in, if you click there, there'll be the YouTube video right there, the course review that I'll record today before I go home. Okay, I'm not going to do last year's. We're posting an old one. I'm going to record a brand new one. Okay, to make sure I get everything that I wanted to go over. Okay, however, we'll go ahead and go through the self-assessment and kind of answer questions off of that. Okay, so not everybody did this yet. What in the world? Who hasn't done the self-assessment? 2 out of 2. Show responses. Let's see who did it, who didn't. Mr. Clark and Mr. Miller did it. Did you not see it on the board?
You were yelling at me to get the quiz done.
Don't give me your excuses.
Do you want me to get
Yeah, I want you to do it so that we can look at the analysis. The analysis is so good. We're 2. Okay.
Goodness.
Let him Brandon, his beard distracted Isaac.
Does anybody have any classes out in the new athletic building? Have they done any announcements out there yet? They had the bell ring out there or anything yet? Anybody got?
What? Was there supposed to be like lights in the sky last night? But it was all cloudy. There's supposed to be like, there's supposed to be some kind of like, I don't know if it was, I heard from some people, I don't know if it was like some phenomenon thing going on or if it was like someone actually like playing with lights in the sky, but there was supposed to be some tonight or last night, and but the clouds were in the sky. And I didn't know about it, and I saw this weird light in the sky and it freaked me out.
No. Let's see. October 20. Look at that. See, Google's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Oh, there's some for like the next week.
You'll find the moon. It's ready to the moon.
You go update like a calendar.
Do they?
Like right there. It'll show you what you can see.
So what was last night supposed to be? Orionid meteor shower peaks last night.
That would make sense.
There you go.
Cause someone
I
told me
wish
that
I would have
last
known,
night.
except for it was pretty cloudy and rainy last night. I don't
See,
know.
that's
how.
why I thought I wouldn't be able to see it, but you could still see it through the clouds. It was weird.
It probably would have looked even cooler through the clouds because it would have just kind of showed up.
It was like
Okay, back to what we're doing. You're getting me out. Did everybody do it now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Turn these off. Close tabs. Back to where we were. Okay. Okay, so I want to go through the ICANNs. And by the way, there was an ICANN missing. ICANN number 11 was missing. I can explain what PC form factors were that wasn't on the ICANN list. And I when I'm looking through, I'm like, why is that not on the ICANN list? Because it's one of the most important things from this chapter that will be an I gotcha for the rest of the class if you don't understand how things go together. So from what you guys are saying, the one spot that you don't have down is I can explain what DC voltages come out of a PC power supply and where the various plugs connect to. Okay, so I'm going to go straight to the picture, and I'm going to go over this again in the review. But one of the things that did I get that out of order? I did. Why is that down there? I thought I reordered that. One of the things when we talk about detecting and correcting power supply problems is that need to be able to total the wattage up. Because that's where people's PCs fail, and you may not have the fan go out. It may just be that the capacitors can't handle the load and they just die, okay? But that's why we need to be able to do this. So when we look at the different plugs that are on the back of a not on the back, that are on a power supply, we need to understand those. And you're going to get ones where I ask you the watt volts calculation, and in order to do it, you're going to have to know those wattages. So this one, like we said before, is 3.3 volts. Okay, The amperage is unknown. It depends on the motherboard. It depends on how many things are plugged in the motherboard. That's why when we say these generalities for how much wattage does a motherboard pull, and then we add these other things, the USB is not its own power connector, right? The USB goes through the motherboard, but that adds to the amperage that's coming through the motherboard itself. The wattage for the motherboard is always 3.3, but then how much current is being pulled from that motherboard is determined by all those other things that plug into it. So when we look at this chart, I can't remember if I was forward or back of this picture. There we go. When we look at this chart, some of these things have their own plugs. Some of these things are on their own, okay? So my video card, if it's a gamer video card, it's got to be on its own. But if it's a basic or integrated video card, it's on the motherboard. So it's just causing more amperage to be pulled through the motherboard. Okay, all these USB things, those are going through the motherboard. So I can't go and say a specific one. Well, that's why there's all these other drop-downs. Some of them have their own power, right? Floppy drives have their own power. Hard drives have their own power. Optical drives have their own power. Gamer video cards, and I want you to use this as the definition of a gamer video card from here on out. So if you have a problem, it's a gamer video card if it requires its own power. If there's no power plug, it's not a gamer video card. So use that as your definition here. When I go to that problem, and I wish I hadn't closed it. Let me see if I can open it on my history. I don't even see it clear. No, show all history. What is it? There we go. Is that the one? Maybe the one. Let's see if that comes up. Is that the one we were looking at? Of course, that's just the pictures. What good is that to me anyway? Doesn't matter. When I Googled that and I went to it, if you looked at that, there's no external power connectors on it. Okay? So if there's no external power connectors, no matter what, I want you to consider that basic. Okay? If there's no external power connectors, it's a basic video card, because that's really what defines a really good video card anymore. They need more power to do the extra processing. Okay? So a good video card always has an extra power connector. Memory goes to the motherboard. Basic video cards or integrated ones go through the motherboard. The CPU has its own power connector. That's what that extra power connector I was talking about on that question was, is making sure that you've got the right extra power connector. And I'm going to put a question mark right here in extra cooling fans, because it depends on the fan. I have, on my computer at home, I've got 3 extra cooling fans. Okay, 2 of them connect directly to the motherboard. 1 of them connects to an extra power connector. Okay, so it depends on the fan, but my point here is that I can't give you a firm thing there. That's why we have to add all those other things. Okay, this one is always 12 volts. Okay, it's a main power to the motherboard, but it's for the CPU, and it could be 4-pin, or I'm going to say 4 plus 4. So it could be a 4-pin for an Intel or an 8-pin for an AMD. These 3-pin fan ones, I'm not going to have one of those, but it is a 12-volt fan. The SATA ones are 12 volt. The Molex ones are 12 volt, and this floppy one is 5 volts. Okay. So if I say I've got a CD-ROM hooked up that's pulling 3 amps, and what's the wattage? Wattage is what? 36, right? Okay, so you should be able to do that math. All these numbers on my chart, all these are approximations, and that's why when you go through the calculator, you're going to get something close. You're not going to get the exact same thing, because not all gamer cards don't pull the same amount of wattage, right? All hard drives don't pull the same. Obviously, a SSD pulls far less wattage. There's nothing moving, right? If I plug in a solid-state drive, there's no motor, there's nothing spinning, which is one of the reasons we went with solid-state drives for your guys' laptops so the batteries would last longer. Because this doesn't pull that much. It's just memory in here, right? There's nothing as opposed to a spinny drive that now it's got a motor, it's got to spin up, and it's got to pull that. So did I just answer the question on the wattage or the voltage on the plugs? Okay, the picture is going to look different. I can't tell you what picture you're going to get necessarily on the quiz. It's going to either look like this one or maybe look like this one, okay? And we've got the P1 3.3. We've got the extra CPU power, which is 12. We've got a Molex here, which is 12. This one, I'm not going to use that picture because that's an old AT power supply connector. And this is our floppy, which is 5. Okay, let's see if I get a different one. I don't have a different one on there anymore. Okay. We are, for all intents and purposes, completely out of time. That's the only one that you guys said that you didn't know. So basically, Tuesday is going to be the chapter review. I'm going to record it today and then post it on there. And then Thursday is going to be the chapter test. There are going to be many more calculation problems. I'm not going to say it's going to take you the whole period, but you're not going to be done in 5 minutes. Please take your time and read all the answers, Cody. Don't just read the first one that you see that's true, okay? Just like in true falses, read the question at least twice. If any part of a true false is false, the answer is false. Okay, so won't see you guys next week. I apologize.